Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Brain, and as always, I'm here with my amazing co-host, Anna. Anna.
Hey, Brain! Hi, everyone! It's so great to have you with us again. Thanks for choosing us to be part of your English learning journey.
Absolutely. And today's topic is something that I think every English learner every language learner needs to hear. We're going to talk about how to listen better.
Yes! You know, brain people often say, I can read in English, I can write, but when it comes to listening, I get lost. And that's so normal. But the good news is, listening is a skill. And like any skill, you can train it and get better.
Exactly. In this episode, we're going to explore why listening is so important for learning English, why it's hard for many learners, and of course, we'll share practical tips to help you become a much better listener.
And don't worry, we'll also talk about the common mistakes people make when practicing listening and how you can avoid them. Plus, we have a little challenge for you at the end to help you take action right away.
So, grab your notebook or just sit back and relax because by the end of this episode, you'll have a clear plan to start improving your listening skills every single day.
All right, let's dive in. First, let's talk about why listening is more important than you might think.
All right, let's start with a simple question. Why is listening so important when learning English? Anna, what do you think?
Oh, it's huge, Brain. I always tell my students listening is the first door to speaking fluently. If you can't understand what people are saying, how can you respond? You know?
Exactly. And think about how babies learn languages. They don't start by speaking. They listen, and listen some more. For months. That's how they understand the sounds, the rhythm, the patterns of the language.
Right? We sometimes forget that listening is actually the foundation. It's like building a house. You can't put up walls or a roof if you don't have a strong base. Good listening skills give you that base.
That's so true. And here's another thing. When you listen well, you don't just learn words, you learn how people use them. The tone, the stress, the natural way words connect. That's something reading alone can't give you.
Exactly. Like when native speakers say gonna instead of going to or wanna instead of want to. If you only study from textbooks, those phrases can be confusing when you hear them. But if you listen a lot, you'll recognize them without thinking.
And another point, good listening helps you think in English. When you train your brain to listen and catch meaning directly in English, you don't have to translate everything in your head anymore.
Yes, and that's when real fluency starts. Because you're understanding in real time and responding naturally. No more stopping to think, what's that word in my language?
Anna, do you remember any time when better listening helped you when you were learning a language?
Oh, definitely. I remember trying to learn Spanish. At first, I just kept focusing on grammar and vocabulary, but I struggled so much to understand native speakers. When I started listening to podcasts and watching TV shows without subtitles, something changed. Slowly, I began to hear patterns, expressions, and I could follow conversations much better.
That's a great example. And I had a similar experience with French. Once I stopped worrying about understanding every single word and just focused on the general idea, my listening improved a lot.
So, for all our listeners, if you want to speak better, start with listening better. It's not just important, it's essential.
Couldn't agree more. And in just a moment, we'll talk about why listening is hard for so many English learners and how to overcome those challenges. All right, now that we know why listening is so important, let's talk about something that almost every learner experiences. Why is listening so hard? Anna, where do we even start?
Ha ha ha. Oh, there are so many reasons. But I think the biggest one is that native speakers just don't talk the way textbooks teach you. When you listen to real conversations, people speak fast. They connect words, they use slang, and sometimes they don't pronounce words clearly at all.
That's right. Let's take a simple sentence like, "What are you going to do?" In real life, that might sound like, "What you gonna do?" And if you're expecting to hear every word clearly separated, your brain gets confused.
Exactly. And then there's connected speech where words blend together. Like I don't know becomes I don't know. Or did you eat? Sounds like did ya eat? If you've only seen these phrases written down, you won't recognize them when you hear them.
And accents can also be a challenge. Maybe you've studied English from American teachers, but then you hear someone with a British Australian or Indian accent, and suddenly it feels like a whole new language.
Yes, accents add another layer. But here's the good news: you don't need to understand every accent perfectly at first. The key is exposure. The more you listen, the more comfortable you become.
You know, Anna, another struggle I hear from learners is about speed. People say native speakers talk too fast. I can't catch anything.
Oh, yes, but often it's not just speed, it's that learners are trying to catch every single word, and when they miss a word, they panic and then they miss the next few words too.
Exactly. It's like trying to watch every leaf in the wind instead of just enjoying the breeze. You don't have to catch everything, focus on the overall meaning.
That's such a great image, Brain. I love that. And here's another struggle: many learners try to listen and translate into their language at the same time. That makes it harder because your brain is doing double work.
Yes, translation slows you down and makes listening feel exhausting. The goal is to train your brain to understand in English without needing to go through your native language every time.
So, listeners, if you've been feeling frustrated with listening, remember it's not because you're bad at it. It's because listening to a new language takes practice and there are real challenges, but you can overcome them.
Absolutely. And next, we're going to help you with that by talking about the right mindset for becoming a better listener. Stay with us. All right, let's move on to something that I think is super important: the mindset you need to become a better listener. Because honestly, Anna, if your attitude about listening is wrong, no amount of practice will help.
Oh, you're so right. A lot of learners go into listening practice thinking I have to understand everything or I'm failing. That's not realistic. Even native speakers don't catch every single word all the time, especially in noisy places or on bad phone lines.
Exactly. So the first thing to remember is, it's okay not to understand every word. Your goal isn't to be a walking dictionary. Your goal is to understand the message, the overall meaning.
Yes. I always tell my students, focus on the big picture. Ask yourself, what's the main idea? What's happening? If you catch key words like names, places, actions, you can understand most of what's going on.
That's such good advice. And here's another part of the right mindset: be patient with yourself. Listening is a skill that builds over time. You won't suddenly become a super listener after one or two podcasts.
Yes. Think of it like learning to play the piano or ride a bike. At first, it's awkward. You make mistakes. But if you keep going, you get smoother and faster.
And you know what else helps? Be curious. Instead of getting frustrated when you hear a new word or a strange expression, get excited. Say to yourself, "Oh, cool. That's something I can learn."
I love that, because when you listen with curiosity, your brain is open. You're in learning mode, not stress mode.
And stress makes listening harder, right? If you're tense, you actually block your brain from processing sounds well.
Exactly. That's why I always suggest before you start listening, take a deep breath, smile, and tell yourself, I'm here to enjoy and learn.
Beautiful. So listeners, remember, focus on the overall meaning, not every word. Be patient. It's a journey. Be curious and open.
And with that mindset, your listening practice will feel a lot easier and more fun.
Up next, we're going to share practical techniques you can use to really improve your listening skills. Don't go anywhere. All right, now, let's get to the part everyone's waiting for: the practical techniques. Anna, let's give our listeners some real tools they can start using today to become better listeners.
Definitely. Let's start with one of my favorites, shadowing. This means you listen to a short piece of audio and you try to repeat what you hear at the same time or just after. It's like you're the speaker's shadow.
Oh, yes, shadowing is powerful. Because it forces you to listen actively, you have to pay attention to pronunciation, rhythm, and connected speech. And the best part? You're practicing speaking at the same time.
Right. You can start with one sentence at a time. Don't worry about being perfect. The goal is to match the sound and flow as best you can.
Here's another technique: listening for gist first, then for details. So instead of trying to catch everything the first time, just listen and ask, what's the main idea? What's happening here?
Yes. And then on the second or third listen, you can focus on specific details like keywords, numbers, names, or actions. Breaking it into steps makes it much less stressful.
Exactly. And for learners who like reading support, use transcripts or subtitles smartly. Listen first without looking. Then check the transcript to see what you missed.
Yes, but be careful, don't become too dependent on subtitles. They're a tool, but the goal is to train your ear. Try listening once or twice without them first.
Totally agree. And another simple but powerful technique: repeat the same audio multiple times. A lot of learners think they should always listen to something new, but there's huge value in repetition.
Yes. The first time you hear something, your brain is busy just trying to keep up. The second or third time you start noticing patterns, sounds, and words you missed before, and you feel more confident.
And don't forget, slow the audio down if you need to. Many apps and websites like YouTube or podcast players let you adjust the speed. Try 80% speed at first, if it helps.
That's true. But also challenge yourself to return to normal speed as soon as you feel ready. Real-life conversations won't always be slow.
Here's one more technique I love: listen in small, focused chunks. Don't feel you have to listen to a whole 30-minute podcast at once. Even 1 to 2 minutes of focused listening can be great practice.
Yes. And after that chunk pause, think about what you heard. Maybe write down a few new words or expressions. Make it active, not passive.
Let's do a quick recap of these techniques. Shadowing: repeat after the speaker to match pronunciation and rhythm. Listen for gist, first, details later. Use transcripts or subtitles, but not too soon. Repeat audio multiple times. Slow down the speed if needed. Listen in small chunks for focus.
And remember, consistency is key. These techniques work best when you practice a little bit every day.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we're going to share some daily listening practice ideas to help you build these techniques into your routine. Stay with us. Okay, so we've shared the techniques. Now, let's make it real. Anna, how can our listeners build listening practice into their daily lives without it feeling like hard work?
I love this part because listening practice doesn't have to be boring or time-consuming. My first idea is turn your dead time into listening time. For example, when you're commuting, cooking, or cleaning, put on an English podcast audiobook or YouTube video in the background.
Yes, I do that when I'm washing dishes or walking. Even if you're not 100% focused, your brain is still picking up sounds, rhythm, and new words.
Exactly. And here's another idea. Choose content you actually enjoy. If you love sports, listen to sports podcasts. If you like cooking, find English recipes on YouTube. When you care about the topic, you'll naturally want to listen more.
That's so true. When it's interesting, it doesn't feel like study. It feels like fun. I also recommend set a tiny daily goal. Even 5 minutes of focused listening is powerful if you do it every day.
Yes. And if you have more time, great. But even short daily practice helps you build the habit. And don't forget about songs. Music is a fantastic way to train your ear and enjoy English at the same time.
Oh yes, especially if you look up the lyrics and sing along. That's like listening, reading, and speaking practice all at once.
One more tip: mix passive and active listening. Sometimes just enjoy the sounds. Other times stop and repeat, write down new words, or check meanings.
I love that balance. And listeners, remember, the key is consistency. Make listening part of your daily routine, and you'll see your skills grow over time.
Up next, we'll talk about the common mistakes people make when practicing listening and how you can avoid them.
All right, Hannah, let's have some fun. We've been talking about techniques, so how about we show our listeners what an active listener and a passive listener look like?
Love it. Okay, let's pretend I'm the learner and you're the speaker. First, I'll be the passive listener.
All right, here we go. In a natural, conversational tone. Yesterday, I went to the park. I saw a beautiful sunset, and then I met a friend for coffee. We chatted for about an hour.
Pretending to be passive, sounding distracted. Okay? Sunset? What? Coffee? I don't really know what you said.
Haha, that's the passive listener just hearing words without really focusing or trying to catch the meaning. Now, let's try the active listener. Yesterday I went to the park. I saw a beautiful sunset, and then I met a friend for coffee. We chatted for about an hour.
Enthusiastic, showing she's engaged. Ah, okay, so you went to the park and saw the sunset, and then you had coffee with a friend and you talked for an hour, right?
Exactly. You were listening for the main ideas. You didn't need every little word, you focused on the meaning.
Yes. And I asked myself, where did he go? What did he do? Who did he meet? That's active listening, always trying to understand the story or the message.
So listeners, think about this. Are you just hearing sounds, or are you actively trying to catch the meaning? The second way helps you improve much faster.
Exactly. And don't worry about missing small details at first. Active listening is about understanding the big picture. The details will come with time.
Coming up next, let's break down some common mistakes people make when practicing listening, so you can avoid them. All right, Anna, before we wrap up our tips today, let's talk about something really useful common mistakes learners make when practicing listening. Because if you know these, you can avoid them.
Absolutely. The first big mistake I see is learners try to understand every single word. They get stuck on one word, they panic, and then they miss the next few sentences.
Yes, and like we said earlier, even native speakers don't catch every word all the time. The key is to focus on the overall meaning, not perfection.
Another mistake: only listening once and thinking, oh, I didn't get it. I'm bad at listening. No. Listening is a skill that grows with repetition. You should listen to the same material several times, each time noticing new things.
Exactly. And here's one more: relying too much on subtitles or transcripts. These tools are helpful, but if you always use them from the start, your brain won't learn to process the sounds on its own.
Right. I always tell learners, try without subtitles first. Struggle a little. It's good for your brain. Then check the transcript to fill in the gaps.
And the last mistake: only listening to one type of English. If you only listen to slow, clear news broadcasts, real conversations will shock you. Mix it up. Listen to casual talks, interviews, podcasts, YouTube songs.
That's such a good point. The real world is full of different voices, speeds, and accents. The more you expose yourself to variety, the better listener you'll become.
So, listeners, avoid these mistakes, and you'll make your listening practice so much more effective. And now, let's finish with a challenge for you to try today. Before we wrap up, Anna, let's help our listeners take action. Because listening gets better with a plan, right?
Absolutely. And the good news is, you don't need a complicated plan. Just a simple daily habit works wonders. So here's how you can create your own listening plan today.
Step 1. Choose your material. Pick something you enjoy: a podcast, a YouTube channel, a song, a TV series. It should be something that interests you, so you'll want to come back to it.
Step 2. Set a small daily goal. Maybe 5 minutes of focused listening every day. If you can do more, that's great. But even 5 minutes is powerful if you stay consistent.
Step 3. Decide how you'll listen. For example, first listen for the general idea. Second, listen for key words or phrases. Third, try shadowing or repeating after the speaker.
And step 4. Reflect. After you listen, ask yourself, what did I understand? What new words did I hear? What can I improve next time?
That's it. A simple, flexible plan that you can start today. The key is to stick with it and enjoy the journey.
Coming up, we'll share some final thoughts and give you a fun listener challenge to try. Stay with us.
Well, Anna, we've covered a lot today about how to listen better, and I hope our listeners feel ready to take on the challenge.
Absolutely. Remember, listening is a skill you build step by step. Be patient, stay curious, and keep practicing every day.
And here's your challenge for today. Pick a short English audio, could be a podcast snippet, a song, or a video, and listen to it 3 times. First, just for the main idea. Second, for details. Third, try shadowing the speaker.
Yes, then tell us how it went in the comments or your learning journal. We'd love to hear your progress.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Keep training your ears, and see you next time on the English Learning Podcast.